Today is the best day ever. That's the phrase Hendri Coetzee lived by, not just as a casual saying, but as a philosophy etched into every decision he made, every rapid he ran, and every risk he took. For Hendri, adventure wasn't just a thrill, it was for a purpose. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. Born on March 22, 1975, in the quiet farming town of Ottosdal, South Africa, Hendri was raised in a world where the wild still whispered to those who listened. He was a curious, restless soul who found early solace in books, the outdoors, and self-reliance. But it wasn't until he picked up a kayak paddle that he truly discovered his life's trajectory. The river called. By his early 30s, Hendri had already carved a name for himself in the extreme kayaking world. He had navigated some of the most dangerous whitewater in Africa, including the Murchison Falls section of the White Nile, solo. The falls, known for their deafening roar and violent rapids, had claimed lives before. To descend them alone required not just skill, but the kind of calm that comes from understanding you might not return. Before that, in January 2004, Hendri began a bold expedition that would span 6,700 kilometers, paddling the entire length of the Nile River, from its true source in the Kayaker River all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. The expedition wasn't just a feat of endurance, it was a mission to bring attention to water scarcity and local challenges facing East African communities. It was on this journey that the kayaking world truly took notice. Hendri was no daredevil. He was a tactician, philosopher, and humanitarian. He sought not only to conquer rivers, but to understand and connect with the lives along their banks. In 2007, he returned to solo Murchison Falls, a decision many considered madness. The area was swarming with territorial hippos and aggressive Nile crocodiles. Before setting off, Hendri asked himself the ultimate question: are you ready to die? He paused. Yes. That day, he made it through, outwitting ancient apex predators and living to tell the tale. But it would not be the last time Hendri would dance with danger. The final expedition. By 2010, Hendri had become what some in the community called kayaking's undiscovered icon. He didn't chase sponsorships or social media fame. He chased the edges of the map, places no paddler had dared to go. His journal, later published posthumously as Living the Best Day Ever, reflected his complex inner life. He wrote of fear, gratitude, loneliness, joy, and the obsession with pushing past comfort to find meaning. His motto? Make it harder. Later that year, Hendri began what he hoped would be his greatest and final expedition. The first descents of Africa's White Nile, Ruzizi, and Lukuga Rivers, forging a path through the Congo Basin into DR Congo. His team included elite American paddlers Chris Korbelik and Ben Stooksbury, and their sponsor was Eddie Bauer's First Ascent team. The journey was treacherous. The rivers were remote and raw, snaking through territories ravaged by war, poverty, and ecological destruction. Local reports spoke of increasingly aggressive crocodiles, some said larger than any seen in decades. Villagers whispered of bodies from conflict floating downstream, providing a grisly buffet for predators. In early December, the trio spotted a crocodile in the Lukuga River, around 12 feet long, thick-bodied, and disturbingly close to their kayaks. Hendri, always calm under pressure, gave the order: stay tight, paddle together. If one sees a croc, we sprint as one. The team obeyed. For days, the presence of the beast hung over them like a shadow. The day everything changed. On December 7, 2010, around midday, Chris, paddling just behind Hendri, turned to check his teammate's position, only to witness a nightmare unfolding in real time. A massive crocodile exploded from beneath the water. Its jaws locked around Hendri's shoulder, capsizing his kayak and dragging him under in a single motion. It was like lightning, Ben later said. He never had a chance. The attack was silent, sudden, and final. Chris and Ben watched in paralyzing horror. Then instinct took over. They sprinted downstream, paddling furiously toward a nearby village, hoping for a miracle. Minutes later, Hendri's kayak floated by, empty. His body was never recovered. He was 35 years old. Global shock and local grief. News of Hendri's death spread rapidly. It wasn't just the kayaking world that mourned, it was adventurers, conservationists, and everyday readers who had followed his expeditions. CBS News reported how the team had watched in horror as the attack unfolded. ABC News confirmed that the survivors were in deep shock, unable to process what had happened until long after they reached safety. The International Rescue Committee helped contact authorities, but there was little they could do. On January 28, 2011, a memorial was held in Africa. Friends, fellow paddlers, and family gathered to celebrate the man behind the legend. They didn't speak only of his accomplishments, but of his quiet generosity, his humor, and his unwavering respect for the rivers he loved. Legacy in motion. In the aftermath of the tragedy, a greater truth emerged. This was no freak accident. It was the result of a volatile ecosystem, where human conflict, environmental collapse, and primal nature collide. Chris and Ben later confirmed they would never paddle the Lukuga River again, not out of fear, but out of respect. That section of river would forever belong to Hendri. Yet his death didn't stop the movement he inspired. His final journal, Living the Best Day Ever, was published posthumously to critical acclaim. The documentary Kodoma, which chronicles his life and final days, debuted in 2011, offering raw, haunting insight into what drove him. The Hendri Coetzee Trust was created by longtime collaborator Pete Meredith to fund ethical adventure storytelling and environmental conservation efforts across Africa. And on the White Nile, the Hendri Coetzee Memorial Etanda Race became an annual event, celebrating courage, camaraderie, and the spirit of living fiercely. A fierce final word. Hendri's legacy lives on not because of how he died, but because of how he lived. He understood that not everyone would choose his path, that the risks he took were his alone. But for him, they were essential. Life behind a desk or in the suburbs felt suffocating. What gave him peace was the rhythm of a paddle, the roar of a waterfall, the tension of being completely at the mercy of the wild. He wrote, "Our challenges are always a choice. Make it harder. Thank you for the flat rock I sleep on, the peace I feel, the chance to live my dreams." Some would say he paid the ultimate price for that peace, but Hendri would argue it was a fair trade. He disappeared into a predator's jaws, but his memory is not prey to darkness. In the hearts of every explorer, in the pages of his memoir, in the rivers that bear his name, Hendri Coetzee still moves, paddle in hand, eyes forward, chasing the next bend with unwavering resolve. May his fierce spirit guide future adventurers.